Good evening, everyone. Apologize for starting late. We had a long closed session before this. This is the Board of Education of Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District. We're going to call the meeting order at 19:16 hours, and this is our May 21st regular meeting. Be advised, these meetings are televised. They're on Channel 28. We do them on Wednesday evening and Saturday mornings. You can also watch them on the internet, too. Your image may be captured because we've got cameras in the room. So when you come up to the mic, if someone did, make sure that the little green light at the bottom of that microphone is activated. There's a little button right next to it. So there's a green light that comes on. And we're going to start tonight with a flag salute, as we customarily do. I'd like to ask Principal Taylor to come on up and introduce those Bulldogs.
Hello, my name is Dana Taylor, and I'm the proud principal of Junction Avenue School. Tonight, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the children of our Parent Center volunteers to lead us in the pledge.
Yeah, come around, guys. Nice job. We just want to shake your hand. Tell you what a nice job you did. Good job.
Nice job. Let's give you one of these.
Good job.
Awesome job. Good job. Like it.
Nice job.
Good job.
Good job.
Appreciate it.
Good
Appreciate
job.
it. Good
Nice
job.
job.
Here you go. Give me one of those.
Thank you. Good job. Hey, nice job, honey.
Good job.
Thank you, Bulldogs. I mentioned we came in out of closed session, so any action we take in closed session, we report back out. So I believe we did take a small action today, or an action today, and so I'd ask Trustee Winslow if you could read out that action, please.
Mr. President, the board voted unanimously in closed session with Trustee Russo absent to a confidential mediated agreement.
Thank you, sir. Okay, again, this is the regular meeting of our Board of Education of Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District. Our primary focus here is on the education of the kids within this district. So during the meeting, you, our members of the public, will have the opportunity to share information, voice any concerns or ideas regarding matters within the jurisdiction of this public agency. And during our discussion on each one of those items, there's a time for you to have the opportunity to speak to that item. If there's something you'd like to speak about or talk about that is not on the agenda, we would ask you to fill out a speaker card. They're tan, and when we call you up during that section, please come up. We'll call you in no particular order. If you'd like to speak about something that is on the agenda, fill out a blue speaker card, and then in either case, just hand your card to one of the young ladies over here on the side, and they'll pass them up around to us. I'll call you up in no particular order. I ask that when you come up, make sure that the microphone is on. We get 3 minutes, and our Deputy Superintendent, Mr. Van Schack, there's a light that I know he doesn't turn on, but it does come on right to the front of him, and it'll say 3 minutes. And so we try to keep you to 3 minutes on public comment. If you get around the 2:30 mark, and I know sometimes it's a passionate item and you're talking, I'm not being rude, but I'll maybe remind you that you're at 2:30, that you have about 30 seconds and to try to wrap up. And that's just to be courteous to everyone else and respect everyone's time here. Again, these meetings are on and they're televised. They're on Channel 28, 7 p.m. on Wednesdays and 9 a.m. on Saturdays. Just housekeeping things. If after your item or at any time during the meeting, if you had to use the restroom facility, you need to leave, that's the exit, and then the restrooms are across the hallway. If you'd like a copy of the agenda, they're on a table on the way in. And if we had to leave the room for any reason, we would just simply instruct you to any of the exits that are on the side and in the back of the room. All that being said, I'd ask our superintendent, Dr. Kelly Bowers, if there's any changes to the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. President. We actually do not have any changes this evening.
That's great. We can get right into the recognitions then.
So tonight we have two very special recognitions. So first I would ask, actually I'm going to turn it back to you, President Bueno. We are going to be honoring and recognizing our student board representatives. And we have one who is absent tonight, and that is because she is getting honors at her senior awards, which is simultaneous, something that we are going to switch for next year. We're going to ask that they don't do the senior awards on the same night as our board meetings.
Right.
But there's pretty much an event every night right now around the end of school. So, but we're going to recognize her anyway, and we'll make sure she gets her plaque.
Okay. So just a little bit, and so everyone understands what we're doing here. We have student board representatives from our two comprehensive high schools, one from Livermore and one from Granada. And they come to all our meetings. Tonight, unfortunately, she was double booked. But Olivia LaBarbera and Avery Peralt, they come and they participate in our meeting. They give us insight, and they kind of tell us about what's going on at those high schools. So we prepared a few just some notes about how all that process works. So at each meeting, Avery and Olivia have brought the voice of students to the discussion and actions of our board. They've reported on news and events of their respective high school. They share highlights about courses, final exam, Spirit Week, who wins, who loses, college fair, and a course of proud announcements about different things. Sometimes athletic accomplishments, it's academic accomplishments, and almost always when Livermore plays Granada or Granada plays Livermore, they always seem to pipe in on that. They're always rivals, but the two of them have a really good rapport, and they've developed kind of a professional rapport here, and we appreciate that. We know that these young women are very talented as speakers, and they're representing all the peers. And we graduate almost 1,000 students a year, and they come mainly from those two high schools. These are both very accomplished students. Both Avery and Olivia are honor roll throughout their high school. Both have participated in leadership classes. Both have excelled at honors and AP classes. Avery has also had the opportunity to excel in IB courses. Both of these young women have distinguished themselves from their respective schools with a lot of hard work, and they've been very committed to their classes and to their classmates. Avery has served on the district's LCAP, the LCAP committee, as a student representative. She's founded the Human Rights Club and the What Will It Take Club at Granada High School. She's been very active in ASB. She's volunteered on our community with LARPD summer camps and also the Night to Shine, which is a great event for our special needs children, children with special needs. And if you ever get a chance to go to that, it's something special. And so thank you for your work in that. Olivia has participated in ASB and is one of the founders of the Random Acts of Kindness Club, and also involved in the TUPE program, which is about the anti-vaping stuff over at Livermore High. Olivia has will attend CSU Long Beach, and Avery was going to go to the University of Washington at Seattle. Not surprisingly, both of them are going to pursue degrees in political science, which is a great major. I have a son who did that. Nice job. These are two young women that have served our district and our community with their work as student board members, and we really appreciate that. They should remind all of us of the tremendous possibility of this young generation, and that's why they're here, because they represent it. And they're making a really positive difference in the community. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the work you do. And thank you, Olivia, because I know you're going to be watching. Thank you very much. And as a small token of our appreciation, we prepared a plaque for you. Bobby, you can come on up. It just says in recognition of your outstanding service as student representative to the Livermore School Board, April 2018-2019. Thank you very much. And the entire reason this whole school thing happens, it's all about kids. And so when you get two young ladies like this that want to come in, and they're coming here on a Tuesday night, and they're always in a rush to get out of here so they can hurry up and get their homework done and do other things, and one's double booked tonight. I know you guys have busy schedules. We really, truly appreciate what you guys did. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And for our next recognition, we will re-invite Mrs. Dana Taylor forward. She is the very proud principal of Junction K-8, and she will be honoring and recognizing a very devoted group of volunteers.
Board President Bueno, more members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, I'm Dana Taylor, principal of Junction K-8, and I would like to invite up our volunteers from our Parent Center tonight. There it is. Okay, I'm so excited to do this tonight. We've been waiting for a long time. They made shirts for the occasion. It's great. So I'm going to get philosophical here. Mother Teresa was quoted saying, "Do small things with great love." I'm sorry that she never got to meet this dynamic group of women because they do many things with great love. We are so honored that these ladies choose to bestow their gifts to Junction Avenue K-8. Writing this speech was difficult for me. How do you put into words a feeling? Their presence on campus literally changes the feel of our school into a supportive family. How amazing is it for our students to see their parents at our school working alongside of their teachers and their principals to make our school better for them. These women are inspirational and true role models. They are teaching their children and the 935 other students at Junction the value of education, hard work, positivity, and dedication. The women standing before you have volunteered collectively thousands of hours to help the Junction School community. Some are employees that put in their time after hours. Some are parents. Some are grandparents. And some are former parents that just keep coming, right? Chavalita, where is she? 2 years. Her daughter left 2 years ago, and she still helps. How can we even begin to describe our appreciation and thanks for women who work full-time, some 2 and 3 jobs, and make time to come to our school and volunteer between shifts and sometimes very late into the night? The Parent Center is not only a place to come and volunteer, but it's also a place for assistance. And Mari Cruz Fernandez, our Parent Center liaison, has created a welcoming place where parents can network and use each other as sources of support to assist in their own challenges of parenting and help with our educational system. They spend their days by helping teachers prep materials. They help distribute school information. I'm sure they've stapled hundreds and hundreds of take-home reading books for our kinders. They assist with morning drop-offs in our student valet program. They may be listening to a visiting speaker that day, or planning dual immersion cultural nights, or making Dia del Nino a special day for our students, or cooking for days on end to make our fundraisers a huge success. And there's so much more I could say right now. But in the midst of all this chaos, there is laughter, there is joy, and there is friendship. They make everything and everyone feel valued and make everything at Junction feel colorful and fun. From making handmade decorations and decorating for hours for special events, to cooking for our Teacher Appreciation Week. All our teachers got lunch from them all week long. To watching them come into the office, showing their Junction pride with a cheer and their purple pom-poms, to the cakes and birthday songs they make, and even my favorite time ever, when their mariachi song and dance they did for Boss's Day. They make everything for everyone on our campus feel special. It is tonight I am honored to introduce you to these humble, hardworking, dedicated, amazing, supportive volunteers that make Junction the special place that it is. And I want to introduce you to, you guys can wave, Maricela Jimenez, Myra Garcia, Maria Elena Valdez, Elizabeth Ramos, Elvia Medina, Martha Solizano, Patsy Bibiano, Maria Isabel Pena, I'm sorry, Mercedes Juarez, Cyrus Salinas, Maria Benrostro, and Rosanna Cazada. And of course, our Parent Center liaison, Mari Cruz Fernandez. I want to thank all of them from the bottom of our heart. They make Junction the place we call home, and we always say at Junction we're family, and it's because of them. So thank you.
Thank Nicely done. Thank you.
You were awesome.
Thank you.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome for the school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job. Thank you. You guys are just awesome.
Thank you very much.
I like it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys are just awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
for
Thank you.
supporting our schools. Great team. Thank you.
And Mari Cruz is also the classified employee of the year for our entire school district. So quite an accomplishment.
Turn it down. It's really hot.
She turned it up. She turned 78. She put it at 78 though.
It's May. I don't understand.
That's awesome. Okay, we're moving into section 6, and this is the opportunity for our student board members to give us what we were talking about. So Avery, you're going to start off?
Thank you, and good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. So we are in the home stretch, yay. AP and IB testing started 2 weeks ago and is coming to a close in the end of May. I personally took 3 tests, and I am very glad that the stress is over, and it will be over for everyone soon. In other testing news, juniors are taking CASP testing this whole week, so the rest of us get to sleep in and get to school at 10 while they test from 8 to 10. Sorry, juniors. Before I get into all of the upcoming senior activities, because there are a lot, I want to commend Granada Varsity Softball for making round 2 of NCS. That was really impressive. Speaking of commending, I also wanted to give a big shout out to Colleen McCandless and Tyler Hattori for winning the Olympian Scholar Award. Cross country is really representing. I like it. Also, a big shout out to all the seniors who won the Pedrosi Scholarship. The ceremony was really awesome, and I feel very appreciative to have been one of the recipients. So here come the senior events. This upcoming Monday, we have no school in honor of Memorial Day, and then seniors are gone Tuesday and Wednesday in Disneyland. Following that, we have Senior Awards Night on Thursday at Cornerstone Fellowship, where seniors will be recognized for their outstanding academic achievements, community service, and other awesome things they've done. After that, Saturday will be Senior Ball at the Bentley Reserve in San Francisco, and we graduate the next Friday, so the next 2 weeks are going to be pretty crazy, but very exciting. So the week after next is finals week. Following graduation will be the Safe and Sober grad night for the seniors, and everyone is really excited. Seems like the parents did an awesome job, as always. These upcoming weeks will be full to the brim, but everything is very exciting, and for me, very bittersweet. So to end, I wanted to give the board and the district a really, really big thanks for the opportunity to be the student representative. As my final year as a student in the district, I am proud to look back on my career in LVJUSD and know I had a tiny part in the bigger gears that make the schools work. And although I'm very excited to move on, it is extremely bittersweet. Being on the board has taught me how to conduct professional relationships, make connections, and find my passion for equal education and politics. I'm also glad to have made a Livermore friend. I wish Olivia was here tonight, but she was one of my first connections outside of Granada, and I'm very appreciative for her friendship, and that was because of the board. Also, as President Bueno said, next year I'm majoring in political science at the University of Washington, so let's hope the Livermore School Board is the first of many political positions I will hold. Thank you for giving me fond memories and always fighting for what is best for the students in this district. I appreciate it from my 12 years in the district, Livermore native, and everyone here is just amazing, and I'm really, really appreciative. Thank you, and for one last time, go Matadors!
Thank you, Avery. Okay. Yeah, would you? Like, is your final hurrah? When you go into politics, you're going to be shaking a lot of hands. Really good job.
I'll say it just this once.
So we're going to jump into Section 7. This is our employee associations, and this is our opportunity for our union leadership and the leadership of all of our groups. We're fortunate enough to have all organized labor, and so coming up first is Kate Srell. She's president of Livermore Education Associations, and she'll let you know who they represent. We also have CSEA, which is Mamie Kristovich. She's the president, and Teresa Jennings, president of SEIU. And we have Cindy Martinez, who's the confidentials. Good evening, Ms. Sorrell.
Good evening, President Bueno. My name is Kate Srell, and I'm the president of the Livermore Education Association. Good evening to you, President Bueno, to the members of the school board, Superintendent Bowers, members of the cabinet, members of the audience here and at home. How do you know the school year is about to end? Here are some indicators. Retirees are being honored at the retirement reception. Elementary and middle school teachers are preparing for open house. Wine barrel furniture is being auctioned off at Mendenhall. Families are attending spring orchestra concerts. Yearbooks are being distributed. 8th grade students are going to Great America. Seniors are going to Disneyland. TK5 IB Awards ceremony at Joe Mitchell, Family Science Night at Junction, Hoedown at Croce, Powder Puff Football at Livermore High, 5th grade, 8th grade, and senior awards ceremonies, 8th grade promotion at Christensen, East Avenue, Joe Mitchell, Junction, and Mendenhall, graduations at Del Val, Granada, Livermore High, and Vineyard. All of these end-of-the-year events require collaboration and coordination by the staff at all levels and sites. My thanks go out to the hundreds of people who have devoted their time, energy, and skills to make these events successful. The National Red for Ed movement is about standing up to protect and increase the resources and support for our students, schools, and communities need. Tomorrow, members of CTA, parents, and community leaders will send a message to California legislators they need to step up and fix the flawed, decades-old charter school laws that are hurting students and public education. The unregulated growth of corporate charter schools by billionaires who look at our students and see dollar signs has been draining resources from our public schools. Our message is clear. Reform is needed now. AB 1505 will ensure that local control is truly local control. Local communities and local school boards will decide to renew or authorize charter schools in the future. AB 1506 establishes a cap on the unregulated growth of charter schools. AB 1507, which has passed the Assembly and has been sent to the State Senate, will ensure that charter schools that are authorized by one district cannot operate outside of that district. On behalf of the counselors, nurses, psychologists, speech pathologists, classroom teachers, and teachers on special assignment who work to meet the needs of all of our students, I ask that you wear red for Ed tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go into Section 8, which is communication from the public. Communication from the public, is the time for you to come and comment either in writing or verbally on any item that is not on our agenda. We, the board, may listen to the comment and we can ask staff clarifying questions, but we can neither discuss nor take action on these topics because they're not on the agenda, and this is all in accordance with the Brown Act. If you'd like to address a topic that is not on this evening's agenda, now would be the time to do so. Again, I would reiterate that we ask respectfully that you limit your comments to 3 minutes, and this is kind of something to keep us all going smoothly forward. I have a couple of cards up here, and I'll call you up. And if there's any more coming over, just please pass them this way. First one is Kimberly McKenzie. Good evening. Hey, can you just check and make sure that green light's on?
It is on.
Okay,
Can you hear
thank
me?
you.
Okay. Members of the board, as you may remember, I made a statement at the previous meeting regarding the current lack of communication and leadership at Arroyo Seco Elementary. Following that statement, I had a phone call with Mike Biondi on May 15th. During that call, Mr. Biondi accused me of launching what he called a, quote, personal attack and shamed me for addressing the school board. He stated that the board shouldn't be approached with such issues, saying that in the future, items such as the one discussed were under his supervision and that I should reach out directly to him. I had to remind him that I did reach out to him after the mishandling of an incident with my son via email on March 16th, 2018, and nothing was done. Now it is 14 months later, and there has been another incident that ties Arroyo Seco and ESS together, this time with a sexual assault on campus involving a student enrolled in ESS. I felt I had no other option but to approach the board with my concerns. During our conversation, Mr. Biondi also said he was concerned that parents were referring to the incident as, quote, a sexual assault because, quote, it wasn't. Those were his words. So I looked it up. Sexual assault, in the broadest definition, is unwanted sexual contact. A further definition is contact of genitalia, breasts, buttocks, and other intimate body parts. Based on both of these definitions, that is exactly the situation that we are dealing with. I'm sure that the parents of the child that was assaulted would disagree with this assessment of the situation, as I certainly do, and I'm sure most Arroyo Seco parents would. Something is not right here. Why is this situation being downplayed? I am not going to be bullied, and I'm not going to be shamed by Mr. Biondi. I'm here to make sure that the board understands the severity of the situation and that the concerns of these parents seem to be falling on deaf ears. I came to him as a concerned parent over a year ago, and I was told that these issues would be addressed. They weren't. I came to the board 2 weeks ago, and now I'm being accused of launching a personal attack. Clearly, he can't see the bigger picture. There is leadership in place that is ill-equipped to deal with very serious issues that are occurring on campus. These issues are not being taken seriously, and now there are blatant attempts to downplay exactly what happened. The events that took place with my son were downplayed. Arroyo Seco administration failed him. He suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder after being held in a bathroom against his will on campus. Still, to this day, he cannot walk into a room alone, even in our own home, without someone being present. As you are all well aware, there is now another child dealing with the same trauma. How many more victims need to come forward before someone listens? No other child or family should have to suffer. Enough is enough, and this cannot continue to happen. What I also took away from my conversation with Mr. Biondi was that it was clear that he had a strong interest in keeping the current leadership in place rather than listening to the growing concerns of Arroyo Seco families. And I have to question, why? Why? What does he have to gain while Arroyo Seco students and their families lose? We have lost out on an administration that listens to the cares and concerns of parents
Just to
and
let you know,
reacts.
ma'am, your time's expired.
Okay. Thank you.
Could we have a copy, though? If that.
That way we can at least see the whole of your comments. Thank you very much. And we'll call up Deanna Kozak, or if I didn't pronounce it right, let me know. Okay.
Good evening, Board. I am also a parent at Arroyo Seco, and I am speaking to you in regards to the sexual assault which was occurred in my daughter's class. And I am not alone. My voice speaks for many. We do not want to be here. We feel it is our duty based on the lack of action by the administration at our school. We feel we have been pacified and ignored by our school administration, so we are forced to speak up to you. This is an uncomfortable situation for all of us, but it's here and we must rise to the occasion. This is not just my classroom. These situations continue through the years. We need to end this cycle for all of our children. This will go from a school situation to a community situation. Let's be the leaders in how to assist our children to know better so they do better. Our children and our educators deserve better. We are here to support the victims and we are here to support the assailant. And we are here to support you, but you need to take the proper leadership action and communicate to your parents. Ask yourselves these questions. If your child had done this to another child, what help would you want for them? If your child had been sexually assaulted, what help would you want for them? What school environment would you want for them? Would you knowingly ask your child to go to school in the same classroom to see the same person that touched them inappropriately? As an adult, would you feel comfortable sitting next to someone you know sexually assaulted another person? Because that's what you're asking of our children, and that's what you're asking of us every time we drop off our children at school. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I would just ask staff if because things are said, and I would just ask you to make sure that we're looking in, and because there's strong comments, and this gets into a legal realm, and to make sure that we're looking at and that we've contacted proper legal authorities, and to make sure that we're following those legal cues, because someone listening is looking at this perhaps in a light that it's being presented. And I just want to make sure that the district is following all proper steps relative to not just the ed code, that I'm comfortable we are, but that we also have contacted outside law enforcement here in Livermore, and to make sure that this is run up the flagpole and that they're involved, and then to get their feedback. That would be my request, if it hasn't been done already.
Thank you, and I can confirm that we have.
Okay. Thank you very much. And now we will call up Steve Goodman.
I'm sorry, with the last speaker, could we actually ask for a copy of your comments? We have one board member who's not present. Thank you. Sure. I'm Kelly Bowers.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Goodman.
Good evening, President Bueno, fellow board members, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet, and members of the public. My name is Steve Goodman. I'm here tonight to talk about an exciting event that's going to take place this Thursday at Maryland Avenue School. I am a member of a committee who has been planning an event to honor 60 years since Maryland Avenue opened. I was fortunate enough to be in the first kindergarten class at Maryland Avenue, and I can tell you that it was a good experience for me, and it continues to be one of my favorite schools in the district, although I like them all. Also was a Junction Bulldog too, so I'm partial to that. But I just wanted to, I know you guys are very busy, and it's open house for all the elementary schools. At 5 o'clock, we will be having a beginning event. We will have pictures. We will have a slideshow presentation about the history. There will be music from the decades of 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 2000s. Also, we have purchased benches, and each elementary school grade class decorated the benches, and alumni is invited to sign the benches, and they'll be in place later this summer. But it should be a fun event, and there'll be food for sale on the blacktop area behind the school. It starts at 5 o'clock, and then you can get a tour of the school and then regular open house. So because some of you may not be able to make it, I know that you'll want to at least remember that day 60 years ago. So we have some collectible buttons that I'm going to be passing out here, and these are really nice. So you can wear these. If you don't go, you can at least think about us. So I have permission to pass these out now? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goodman. Thanks, Steve. Thanks. Appreciate it.
You say you were like 10 years old when you came in? Stop. Thank you. Good to see you.
Okay, as Mr. Goodman's wrapping up, we're going to go into section 8B, as in Bravo. This is correspondence. The formal written correspondence to the Board of Education shall be acknowledged if received by the board or in the superintendent's office by 4 p.m. the day before the meeting. Formal written correspondence received after the cutoff time will be acknowledged at the following meeting. Electronic communication received via the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District website by accessing the formal written correspondence to the Board of Education link with all fields completed and verified shall be treated as formal written correspondence. And with that being said, I'd ask the clerk if there is any, and if you would summarize, please.
Yes, Mr. President, there is one from Justin Enright, Director of Instrumental Music from Livermore High School. Formal board correspondence received via email. Mr. Enright invites the Board of Trustees to the annual Spring Instrumental Music Department concert on Wednesday, May 29th at 7 p.m. at the Bankhead Theater with the theme of America, One Nation for All. It looks to be an exciting night since it is at the Bankhead. So that's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we're going to go into section 9. These are information discussion items. And with that, I'd have an invite to our superintendent, Dr. Kelly Bowers, if you'd introduce our first item.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. President. I'll ask Ms. Susan Kinder to do the honors of the formal introduction of members of our Measure G Citizens Oversight Committee, including the chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers. It is my pleasure to invite Brian Balaz up to the podium. Brian has been the dedicated chairperson of the Measure G Oversight Committee for the past 2 years. And we also have quite a few members of the committee in the audience, and Brian will introduce them.
Yes, thank you. I'm probably, I'm going to need the clicker here. Thank you. So before I begin, President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and members of the cabinet, and thank you, Susan, for the introduction. Before I begin this evening, I'd like to introduce the other members of the Measure G Oversight Committee that are here. I have on your right Victoria Lamica, and if you could please stand so that they can be recognized. Robert DeLiso, who is right behind Victoria. Right across from him is David Strubing. And I think that's the other members that are here tonight. The ones that could not make it tonight are Chung Bothwell, Todd Storty, and Nicole Sardella. So a big thanks to all those that helped in this. So I appreciate having a few minutes of your time to be able to give you a summary of the annual report for the Citizens Oversight Committee. This will be fairly brief, and if you have any questions, you can just raise your hand, or perhaps we can wait till the end. So I'll just launch into this. And I'm going to guess that the right-hand arrow is the one that moves it forward, and I point it that way. Whoa, wow. I can see the money on STEM was well spent. Okay, so just an outline. What I'm going to do is talk really quickly about the background and goals of Measure G. I think you're probably all familiar with it, but for those members in the audience and at home, just to bring everybody up to speed. I'll then launch into the committee structure and the process for this year, the allocation of the revenue from Measure G, and then the impact that these monies had for our school district, and then I'll wrap up with some conclusions. Okay, so Measure G background, it was approved by a little bit more than two-thirds of the, well, actually a fair amount more than two-thirds of the voters in the summer of 2014. It started the following school year on July 1st, 2015, and so that was the first of the years of the Measure G. What it is $138 per parcel, and there are roughly almost 29,000 parcels in Alameda County, and about 115 parcels in Contra Costa County. And there are exemptions for those that are older than age 65. This Measure G remains in effect for 7 fiscal years, and one of the stipulations of Measure G is that it requires a Citizens Oversight Committee, which is why I and my colleagues are here in front of you tonight. Okay, so really quick, I won't go through all these, but basically Measure G provides funds to augment STEM education in the district and for our students. It helps to keep our schools maintained. It helps to replace equipment. It helps to attract and retain qualified teachers, keeps instructional and educational materials in general up to date, and then it maintains academics programs to the extent that we have funds available to do that. Okay, the members of the Oversight Committee are the ones, well, I've already introduced the ones that are here in the audience with us, and then the ones that I noted that could not make it, Chung, Nicole, and Todd were also part of the process for this year. And I would point out at this point that we have a mixture of people that are new to this committee, and we have a mixture of people that are continuing. So we really have a good transfer of corporate knowledge from one year to the next as far as the process and how we approach this. The committee started its work on February 7th with a kickoff meeting where we elected the chair, and that was myself, and then David Strubing, who's here back to my right, your left, was elected as secretary. We held all of our meetings in conjunction with the Brown Act, and we distributed the agenda and things like that. Of course, they're publicized on the district's website, but also through emails. We reviewed the information supplied by the district staff, and at this point I would like to mention heartfelt thanks to Susan Kinder and Teresa Fiskus and Kevin Greer for their help in the process. We evaluated the analysis of the expenditures, and we funneled our questions that went back to the schools through Susan Kinder and the other staff. The one thing that we did not do was provide an independent audit, and that was not part of our requirement, so it was not done. We finalized our report about 10 days ago. I believe you all have a copy of the report. It has been distributed, so all the details are in that report, but a quick summary of what how it broke out. Roughly $4 million in funds were raised by Measure G, slightly less than that, but pretty close. And you can see the breakdown of funds if you can read the numbers on the screen there. The majority of the money went for elementary technology specialists and elementary science specialists, along with math, science, and engineering, or STEM assets or resources. And then the breakdown of the other funds is listed there. We do have a fee of roughly $80,000 that gets paid to the county to compensate them for the costs of collecting the assessment, the parcel tax for the almost 29,000 homes or residences within Alameda County. Okay, the impacts where we had roughly $2 million for elementary science, elementary science specialists and elementary technology specialists, and these are rotated around between the schools, the elementary schools. 27% of the funds, slightly over 1/4, were used to augment the STEM educational assets within our district. 5% of the funds were used to augment the maintenance efforts, and this is part of the stipulation of Measure G that this is an allowable expense for this. 7% of the funds were used to keep classroom technology and instructional materials up to date. This could be Chromebooks, it could be other 3D printers, anything that we use to introduce science and technology within the classrooms. The teacher retention for the district remains high, and also for the science teachers at about 90% or above. And I think you know this, but I'll mention that the LVJUSD is a 5-time Bay Area News Group top workplace, including 2018, the most recent year. Okay, the conclusions. So we looked at all the expenditures, we asked a lot of questions, we analyzed the data that was given back to us, and we concluded that all the Measure G expenditures were appropriate for the purposes of this original measure and spent on items that were appropriate. And we determined that, perhaps more importantly, that the money is actually helping augment STEM education for our students within the district. So I think good news all around, and we didn't really find anything to quibble with. So with that, I will again thank our staff who worked with us, and thank you for your attention, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll start with Mr. Wenzel.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you very much. We don't say enough for the volunteers that basically make what this district is, and you talked about as a workplace, this school district. this oversight's very important. It's mandated, and I appreciate all that you do. The only thing I can say is there anything we can do for you during this process to make it easier? 'Cause I know everybody's busy in life, and to you to step up and do this is very impressive. So thank you.
You're quite welcome, and thank you for the opportunity to serve our schools in this way. I can't think of anything right now. I would ask my colleagues in the audience if they can think of any suggestions for future groups or future members of the Oversight Committee. Maybe we can collect those and pass them back to Susan for future iterations of this committee. But no, I think it was a smoothly running process. I really can't think of anything to quibble about.
Thank you, Mr. Wenzel. Mrs. White?
Yes, I want to thank you, the volunteers who observe and note that we are on the straight and narrow and following the details of the parcel tax. But we also need to continue to thank the voters for voting the parcel tax so that we can have the $4 million to spend on STEM and tech specialists and keeping our equipment up to date. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. Thanks to you and the other folks on there. A couple of us happened to work on it was a concerted effort by this district. This was a continuance of a previous parcel tax. And the concern when you go around and you're asking this community to support education is, are you actually going to do it? People are used to national politics, state politics, and there's naturally a level of scrutiny, or people are wondering, are you really going to do this? And it's your guys' job to make sure that we are. And we are. And it's a really good thing. And I think that's why there's continued support from this community, is because this district says what it's going to do, finds consensus with the constituents, with this public, and they support it. And I know it's a saying, and the superintendent has up in her office, that people support what they help create. And the community helped create this school district, and now they support it. And you guys, out of the goodness of your heart, are overseeing that process. So we truly appreciate that effort, because that's what keeps us going, and that's what's making this district excellent. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Sure, if you guys would like to. If you'd come around,
Make
those
the
of you
rounds,
here.
or we have our committee members in the audience as well.
Yeah, please, come around. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for all your time. Thanks for all the work you do.
Problem over there. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming down and giving us that report. Appreciate it.
Okay, STEM still in the air. If you'd introduce 9-2, please.
Certainly. It's my pleasure, Mr. President, to invite Mr. Jeff Warner forward. He's our Chief Technology Officer. He'll be presenting an overview of information technology for the 2018-19 school year. And this is for information only, and maybe enjoyment too.
Good evening, President Bueno, fellow board members, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. Tonight is my pleasure to present to you a technology update. The IT department has resolved more than 9,540 help desk tickets, which is almost 1,000 tickets more than we've closed last year, while maintaining a high level of customer satisfaction. The department supports over 18,500 total computer devices. Additionally, we have over 4,900 BYOD, or bring your own devices, on our network. Phase 1 of the AV upgrades, in which we installed projectors, sound systems, voice amplification in all the classrooms in the elementary schools, is 95% complete. The last school is due to be done by May 30th. Stats show that listening activities account for 75% of a student's day, and teachers say between 15 to 20,000 words per day. versus the average person of about 5,000 a day. It's no wonder 18% of the teachers miss work each day due to voice issues. The teacher amplification system allows them to just talk at a normal level rather than have to raise their voice. This helps to reduce voice strain and still enable all students to hear them clearly. Another benefit to this project is the estimated cost savings from the energy efficient projectors installed for phase 1 alone is $7,000 a year. Surveys and feedback from the teachers, administrators has been very positive. After each site was completed, I sent out a post-install survey to all of the staff to get their feedback, and I'd like to share with you some of those comments. They're noticing they have a lot more space without the table for the projector. Students can sit directly in front. Don't have to repeat instructions over and over. Students enjoy the microphone and participate more. Incredible difference. Easy to use. Recognizing the difference. Like this one, happy, happy, joy, joy. And we got a lot of thank yous, which was nice as well. We upgraded our storage array to handle expanding storage needs of the district. We installed over 56 new battery backup units, mostly funded from E-rate, to increase the reliability and duration of keeping network equipment running during power outages. We have made good progress in replacing our oldest Chromebooks by replacing over 1,600 of them. In addition, we added another 576 as part of our ELA adoption, and we now have over 11,000 Chromebooks district-wide. We have started rolling out Impero to provide additional tools for teachers to manage and monitor computers in the classroom. Impero includes such features as sharing screens for presentations, locking screens during discussions, and automatically pushing out content and websites to students. An ongoing priority for the district has been security and safeguards to protect our district network. We have upgraded our firewall and security software for improved alerts and security protection, including when school district computers are used off-site. Security awareness is being addressed by educating employees on email scams and phishing attacks, by sending out informational handouts through the IT informant, along with other automated alerts for identifying outside emails and spoofed email attempts. With the network upgrades at the sites, we have improved our alerting system and are working with maintenance operations and facilities on expanding our security camera system. The LVJUSD Technology Innovator Grant is to help teachers inspire their students with the use of new and innovative technology. There were 16 compelling applications and 5 winners that received up to $2,000 in equipment, and you can see who those were. It was nice that it kind of worked out with high school, middle school, and elementary all representing part of that. Projects that we still have in progress or scheduled to complete are working with the bond department on completing phase 2 of the classroom technology upgrades, continuing to support the expansion upgrades of our security cameras, continuing to roll out Imperio for the teachers to use for classroom management, providing technical assistance and setup to support our ELA adoption using digital materials, and increasing bandwidth to keep up with the demand of the digital learning and increased devices on our network. And that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Thank you very much. We're going to start with Mr. Rogie.
Just a couple clarifications on the Impero classroom management. Is that the only product from Impero that we're using, or are we using the network management and other items?
We're just using the classroom management piece of that.
And then also on the power, the backups, is that just to, during a power outage, to power down the servers or to keep them running? And if so, how long?
It's to, number one, protect them from power surges, and number two, keep them running during power outages. And it's not just the servers, it's also the switches. It ranges from an hour and a half to 3 hours, depending on the site and load on there.
Yeah. Hey, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogie. Mr. Wenzel?
A quick question yet, just from the numbers. So you said 11,000 Chromebooks?
Correct.
So about 80% of our students or higher, would you say that would actually, but then the students that would actually use the Chromebook, so that percentage might be even higher because certain grades wouldn't be using Chromebooks.
We're seeing a wide use through all grade levels now, even though the lower grades aren't impacted by the testing, but we're seeing more and more of an adoption of them. But about 80% is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wenzel. Mrs. White?
You talked about purchasing this and servicing that, and that some of the things you're going to do are done in collaboration with the Measure J bond funds. Is there just for the public's information, is there a whole separate technology item on the budget that you have to work with to do these things? Or do we get grants these days to take care of our technology needs? Could somebody just
So there's certain projects in the bond measure. And so one project is the voice, and what is it called? The voice enhancement system, which Jeff talked about. And that's a specific project. So there's not money set aside out of the bond for technology, but there's projects that impact technology.
Yeah, but I mean the security piece. A lot of the security piece of the bond is technology security. The technology items, isn't it? I mean cameras and
Oh, the
such.
security cameras is a whole nother piece, which is considered technology as well. Yeah, that's another project.
Well, he mentioned security, and I
Yes.
was putting it all together. Okay. I think we need to talk separately. Thank you.
Well, there's a lot of different security, right? There's a lot of security software that's paid for out of the general fund. So there's just a lot of a lot of security.
Well, and the voice enhancement for the teachers in the classroom is also technology. It's
Right,
not-
and that's a bond project.
It's in the classroom, but it's not student use in the same way that doing an internet search is. So there's a lot of varieties of technology that
Correct.
I need to think about harder. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. White. Initially, you made mention of the help desk tickets. And I'm just looking at, it looks like there's been an incremental rise since 14, 15 to now, 8, 11% per year, but a 40% increase since the 14, 15 until now, so like a 4-year period, 5-year period. Do we attribute that to more service or more problems?
Mainly more devices. I mean, now your typical person has 3, 4 devices, where traditionally that was 1. So, and then a lot more people are bringing a combination of their own device along with district-provided devices as well.
Okay.
One of the other things is we've also are reinforcing, instead of just picking up the phone and calling or just emailing, to actually use the help desk, because that's a way of tracking for training needs and to make sure we have consistency if we're finding that certain items require more help, or then sometimes that changes what we purchase and things like that. So I think it's a good monitoring device. So we're also encouraging people to use the help desk instead of the more informal.
Yeah, the reason I ask that is if you're looking at maintenance or problems, they seem to be rising, but it's because the circumstances change. Because the one thing that's telling here is that there's a 94% excellent or good rating upon the service that was received. So that's attributed directly to the folks that are servicing all that technology. And that's a great thing, because most people in most organizations, that's like the Achilles heel. So you guys are doing a great job in that effect. And then thank you, that speaker microphone configuration, the help, having seen it prior, what the configuration was and what it is now. And to me, my favorite part of that is that the kids have a voice and that they can be heard. So, the small person with the small voice in the back can be heard equally with the loudest voice. So that's just a great accomplishment of this district to have that in every classroom. So thank you very much, and thank all your folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For our next item, I see two gentlemen coming forward. So I'll ask Mr. Bruce Wilkie, our Director of Maintenance, Operations, and Facilities, and he'll be joined by Mr. Glenn Sherman, our Assistant Director, to present the upcoming summer work report for projects that are coming up with maintenance, operations, and facilities. So while many will be taking summer break, they'll be gearing up for a heavy duty load of work.
Thank you, President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet for having Glenn and me this evening to speak to you about what we plan to do this summer in the Maintenance, Operations, and Facilities Department. We'd like to go through a few items with you here.
Good evening and thank you. This summer we'll be replacing bathroom flooring such as these pictured from Arroyo Seco and Croce, as well as other from Altamont Creek, Del Valle, as they've become worn to the point of much need of replacement, as you could tell from the photos. And that bottom photo is kind of like we want them to look like when we're all done there. Carpeting will replace at several sites such as Croce in the administrative office area, Granada High School room 407 and their new psychology office, Junctions room 6, room 26, and room 208 at Livermore High School. The boys' restroom stalls were replaced at Del Valle last summer, and this year the girls' restroom stalls will be done. The restrooms at the end of the Nancy Steele Center area of Maryland Avenue will also have new bathroom stalls replaced, or they'll be replaced. The current Del Valle girls are pictured on the left and Nancy Steele restroom on the right, and as you can see, they're in much need of replacement. Every summer, we have our backflow valves and fire systems tested as mandated by the state. Fire sprinkler systems are also inspected and repaired as needed each summer. Exterior painting will take place at 2 schools this summer, Arroyo Seco and Mendenhall Middle School, as our department takes on some of the smaller Major J bond items. We are creating a priority list, and we will paint 2 to 3 additional sites next summer. And just like exterior painting needs addressed, so does interior painting. Our list will grow, but we are currently committed to painting the interior of Building B, or the 200 building at Christensen Middle School. This area also has had some ventilation issues, which will also be addressed this summer prior to the rooms being painted. We will be adding another adult transition classroom at Mocho. A room once occupied by the district nursing staff will be converted to fit the program. Fencing will be added and artificial turf will be placed on the area that's behind the rooms, which is currently just a dirt pad. Doors and hardware will be replaced at the gym at Granada High. The new doors and hardware will meet current ADA requirements. And current doors and hardware, for the most part, they're there, were the same ones as I went through when I was a student at Granada and graduating in 1982. So yes, it's time for them to be replaced.
And we'll also be replacing some HVAC units with our Prop 39 funds. The 3 pictures on the left are units that exist now that we're going to replace. The unit on the right is a newer one, what it would look like, a barred unit on a relocatable classroom. So we'll be doing this at Altamont Creek with 8 units, Arroyo Seco 9, Croce 6, Maryland 5, and Sunset 1. So we're going to be finishing up our Prop 39 funds this summer. So in the future, we'll need some funding after that to continue replacing older units. And also with Prop 39, we'll be replacing old thermostats like the one at the top left and the one on the right with newer Pelican wireless thermostats, which is shown in the lower left. And we're really amazed with the Pelican thermostats, and our HVAC techs can use remote devices such as Chromebooks to control these and monitor what's going on in the classrooms and make adjustments as needed to look at to see if the doors are open, because it can actually turn off the thermostat if the door is open more than 5 minutes to help save energy. We're going to be doing a couple of room conversions this summer, and the one on the left side is the room 6 at Junction. It was used for a lab for computers. We're going to be converting this to a science room this summer. And the one on the right is the conference room at Granada. And we're going to be making space within that room for a psychologist's office. So as programs change, we modify the spaces to accommodate those programs. Over at Mendenhall, we have some large changes planned this summer. You can see in the top left photo, we're going to be adding fencing. Right now, this photo is taken from the parking lot. One can walk, within and into anywhere on the campus. So we're going to be creating a controlled environment so that visitors can enter into the office directly and then through a controlled system get to the rest of the campus after visiting the office. So in that upper right photo where you see the Mustang on the wall, we're going to be adding a door there, and there's going to be fencing that controls how people get onto the campus. And because of that, we're also modifying the space within the office so that we can have a good flow of visitors and students in an efficient manner. And then part of that, there are a lot of room signs that are confusing. They're double numbered. And you can see the photo on the lower right. There's a paper sign on the doors. We're going to be putting new signage on the classrooms. Over at Maryland and Mitchell, we're going to be creating some foyer walls that will channel people into the office so that they can sign in there. And then once there, they can get to the rest of the campus so that we have a little more control over who is entering the campus. And this will this will also involve some ADA changes, such as transitions in parking stalls, bathroom modifications. These are both DSA projects. And over at Rancho, we're going to be installing 3 permanent offices. We have some temporary offices there now, which this photo shows. We'll be taking those down and putting in permanent floor-to-ceiling offices. And these partitions will be reused over at Vineyard. And at Vineyard, we're doing some changes also. You may have seen the fencing that's up there now. We're going to be putting a couple of lights in the parking lot. Because of the fencing arrangement there, students will start using that front lot, so we want to make sure it's lit well at night. And we will also be modifying the office there to make it more efficient for the flow of all students and visitors into the office to register. And also in that lower left corner, we're going to be working with the site to create a student space, a student hub within the Almond Room, so that they have a place to go and chill or whatever they would like to do.
To gather and bond and have a sense of community because a lot of the students are in independent study, so they don't get the full experience with their classmates.
And
they get
moreover,
jailed.
every year, our custodial grounds and maintenance staff work hard, deep cleaning, resealing gym floors, shampooing carpets, waxing tile floors, taking care of maintenance items that are very difficult to do when sites are occupied with students and staff. So we'll be continuing with that as normal. And this concludes our presentation, reviewing this year's summer projects and scheduled work from the Maintenance Operations and Facilities Department. I'd like to thank you, and if you have any questions.
Thank you both very much. We'll begin with Mrs. White.
I just want to say thank you. You pointed out some things that the casual observer wouldn't have known were necessary. And I look forward to your team coming to my neighborhood. I'll see what they're doing to create a student hub at Almond. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. Mr. Wenzel.
I too thank you. I look at these bathrooms. We did inspections with other board members and their whole district. And they've done a great job keeping the old tile clean, but I'm so glad that, we go into this epoxy. I'm assuming your maintenance staff's going to love cleaning that versus the old tile. And it's, I know we did studies on this before. You talk about replacing these old thermostats. Somebody comes up with a formula. By doing this, there's a cost savings. Maybe you don't know. I know, Tim, we talked about in some other buildings, they've done this. And I'm assuming by doing this, is there a cost savings based on the old system? So we can, when we talk to people about it, we're improving the situation. Matter of fact, we're putting these in and we're saving and anticipated. No?
Yes, there definitely is a cost savings with that. It's our most economical project we're doing with Prop 39 funds. I don't know what the percentage saving is. We can probably get that to you. We're working with David Darlington, our consultant, on all of the Prop 39 items, and it's a tremendous savings. It helps us tremendously by being able to remotely see what's going on without having to run over to a site. So we're finding them to be, we're all excited about them in the maintenance department. I know that.
Thank you. And lastly, when I look and you talk about painting a school, how long, these are the summer projects, Mendenhall School, how long will that take to get painted, ballpark?
I would say
Is it the
7
whole
weeks
summer,
or so.
or is it?
Yeah, we're going to get started the day after school is out, and we'll be finishing up probably a week before school resumes, so it's most of the summer.
Thank you. Great work.
Thank you, Mr. Wenzel. Mr. Rogie.
On the painting of Mendenhall, is there going to be a color scheme change?
Yes, there is. We worked with the site on that and the architect, and we're going with the school colors on that.
Oh, okay, great, thanks.
Thank you. Just one thing relative to the Prop 39 on the HVAC controls. I appreciate and applaud the cost savings, but I just want to make sure that it never gets lost in the wash or that we don't ever get confused. That HVAC, the heating, ventilation, air conditioning, is for the comfort of students and teachers and staff, whoever's in the room, and that never gets lost, and that cost never becomes the thing we're chasing. That we always remember that the HVAC is there for the people inside.
Yes, we certainly understand that. That's our goal also.
And then on the other, you had some stuff on just the fire alarm stuff. When we had a lot of security upgrades, and we've changed from keys to cards, and I just want to make sure that we are coordinating that effort relative to Knox boxes and lockbox keys, things like that, for emergency access.
Yes, we have our Knox boxes at all our sites for both fire and police, and they have keys to those.
It's the coordination piece when it changes. That's all. Just the contents of those things changes. That's a coordination piece with each time they change.
The contents within the boxes.
Yes.
Yes, Glenn actually updates what's in those.
Yeah, in the police department, I actually have a key for their Knox boxes, so I update those with updated maps, keys, cards, whatever's needed for them. And then we contact the fire department, and they meet us out to open up their Knox box if we have any changes
Right.
to make to them.
Okay. Thank you very much. Great job, guys. Good luck during the summer.
And now we'll ask Mrs. Kim McNeely to come forward. She's our newly appointed bond program director, and she'll be presenting a similar update, but about Measure J bond projects. And this is also information only.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. I'm pleased to present this evening our Measure J bond program update for you. There are many district-wide projects that have been completed over the course of the past year, and I'm certainly not going to go through all the details of this matrix. It is posted to our webpage, but I'm going to highlight a few items for you this evening that I think are worth noting for both you and for the public. We have completed thus far 20 playground projects in the district. We are coming down the home stretch of that, and we'll be completing that work this summer, and I'll talk about that a little bit more as I talk about specific summer work. We have also are wrapping up, as Mr. Warner shared, the first phase of the video projection and voice enhancement project. All of the elementary classrooms in our district will be complete as of the end of May, and we're looking forward to the next phases of that work as well. At East Avenue, the Division of State Architect Review is occurring for the new classroom building on that campus, and we anticipate the approval through DSA at the end of summer this year. And we'll talk again during summer work about setting the stage for that building as we move forward this summer. As well, staff is in the process of refining scope and project logistics for the Mitchell K-8 project as directed by the board in April, and we look forward to bringing that back to you as we refine that work and develop that further. At Livermore High School, the athletics complex project is again in Division of State Architect Review at this point, and we anticipate approval of that project in the early fall. And as we move into the summer work on the next slide, I'll be sharing some of the work that's occurring on that campus as well. So busy summer planned ahead, I think like everyone, it sounds like. The district-wide playgrounds projects are in the final phase. As I shared, we'll be completing Smith and Sunset this summer, their kindergarten play areas, and Rancho will have its three play areas updated this summer. The video projection and voice enhancement project phase 2, you'll recall that is all the secondary schools, the K-8s, will begin as soon as school gets out, and that work will be complete December of this year, 2019. That work is currently on schedule and within budget, and we anticipate bringing back to you a phase 3 planned work, which will include some of the multipurpose spaces and common areas as we move further into that. The East Avenue Middle School Infrastructure Interim Housing Project, you'll recall, includes underground utilities work, moving and purchasing a few portables on the back of the campus or relocatables to make room for the new building that we will be beginning later this year, and building pad preparation for that building. At Granada High School, the athletics building and pool project continues to move forward. If you've been by recently, you see that the masonry block in the classroom portion is coming up nicely and actually is getting tall enough now that we need scaffolding, which is kind of exciting. We wish that the weather had been a little kinder to the pool dig that we're working on. That certainly has had an impact for us, and we are looking forward to moving that forward and recovering some of that time. At Livermore High School, the athletics and aquatics project, increment 1 begins this summer. That's grading utilities, school street improvements, and parking improvements. We begin that the Monday after school gets out. And we are also working on the preparation of the pad for the new athletics complex on that campus, which we're really excited about. School street improvements will also include curb gutter sidewalks along that access to the campus, which will be a huge improvement, I think. So in summary, really busy summer. We're excited to continue 2 of the district-wide projects that have impact on every classroom. We're looking forward to the Granada High School project getting a little bit warmer and drier weather so that we can recover some of the wet weather we've had this year. And at East Avenue and Livermore High School, summer work begins. Summer work planned will allow us to begin new buildings on those campuses when we complete that work. With that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you very much. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Keep it up. We have no comments or questions. Thank you. Line 5, please.
Thank you. And for our next item, I will ask once again Mrs. Susan Kinder, our Assistant Superintendent, to give us an informational item update about the recent Governor's May revise.
Thank you. So good evening again. So yesterday, a few of us attended the school services workshop on the Governor's May revise, and we were informed of some minor changes. There weren't really any big surprises. We were hoping to see a lot more money, but that didn't happen. But I will tell you what, I'll give you a brief overview of what we learned. So first of all, this is the final proposal that the governor comes up with. We know that the local control funding formula is fully funded now. The cost of living adjustment is now 3.26%. And the governor is adding an additional $1.2 billion into the rainy day fund, which is bringing that up to $16.5 billion or 11.5%. So the changes from January, basically the funding from January to May has dropped a little. It went from 2.023 billion to 1.959 billion. And then the COLA also dropped slightly from 3.46% to 3.26%. As we all know, there is no one-time discretionary funding, as we've had for the past, I don't know how many years we've been kind of seeing that, and that's no longer a thing. But the good thing is the CalSTRS proposal is still there, and that's increased slightly from $3 billion to $3.15 billion, and that's money that's outside of the Prop 98 funding. And so that actually lowers the contribution rate that we would pay towards CalSTRS, which then allows us to have additional funding for other uses. The way that the funding has changed based on the COLA is, or the cost of living increase. So the 3.26% COLA is added to the base grant, and so now the base grant is based on grade spans, which it has always been for the local control funding formula. At K3, it's 7,702, 4-6, 7,818, 7-8, it's 8,050, and 9-12, 9,329. And then we get additional funding, grade span adjustments for class size reduction, and for high school career technical ed. And so those are added to those amounts to get our adjusted base grant amount. So we will take this formula and times it by our current projected ADA to come up with what will come to you in the projected budget. We also receive an additional 20% of this for supplemental funding, which is received for our unduplicated count of the English language learners, low socioeconomic, and foster youth. So this, again, is just a proposal. It seems that Governor Newsom is following the fiscal prudence of our former governor, and we're not sure if the legislature will agree with that or not. We've heard that there are many bills outstanding right now, and some of them would bring us quite a bit more funding, so we're hoping that some of those will pass, but we won't know until we get further down the road. The final state budget is to come out sometime mid-June. I heard June 15th, but that's after our public hearing, so we probably won't have that in our adopted budget. So on June 11th, we will bring forward the local control accountability plan, as well as the 1920 draft budget. And then that'll be a public hearing. And then on June 25th, we'll bring you the budget back for adoption, as well as the LCAP. And then once the state does approve their budget, then we have 45 days to revise our budget if needed. And that's basically what I have for you tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
So for our next item, I see Dr. Kevin Greer coming forward. He is our Director of Curriculum and Special Projects, and he'll be presenting some 912 updated courses. So he actually has the next two items, and they're all related to International Baccalaureate. And I believe we have some teachers here as well who will be supporting our recommendations and also available to answer more specific questions.
Hello.
Hi.
Can do a dance rehearsal for that.
Very high.
All right. Good evening, President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and members of cabinet. I'm here tonight to present revised IB program course descriptions for language and literature for your approval. I have tonight with me invited Jeremy Matern and Pooja Arora. They are both GHS IB English teachers, and they're here to help if you have any questions with the course. They help to kind of go over and design it, and revise it, I should say. So tonight we're presenting both the revisions to the IB Language and Literature HL1 and HL2 course descriptions. HL, again, will be higher level for it, and SL would be the standard level. For this one, these are IB English courses designed for 11th and 12th graders. They would take them as part of their IB diploma program. The HL1 and HL2 would combine to take 2 years to complete, and the student earns 20 units, basically, of credits over the 2 years. Students in this course will read and analyze both nonfiction and fiction texts. In addition, students will be able to identify and interpret formal elements of writing, such as rhetorical, literary devices, and poetic devices. The primary reason for bringing the courses to you tonight is because of changes that the IB organization made to its curriculum and to the associated end-of-year assessments that go along with the HL courses. In particular, the written task and oral examination assessment and the IB exam papers 1 and 2 were addressed. So those things they had to make revisions inside of the curriculum programming so that they would be able to address those and prepare the students to be able to pass those IB exams at the end of the course. And so that would be the main reason for bringing those courses. So the recommendation is to approve the 9-12 course descriptions for IB Language and Literature, HL1 and HL2.
Thank you very much. We'll start with Mrs. White.
I should have noted it, but what year did the students take these HL1 and 2?
HL1 and 2 would be junior and then their senior year. So junior would be HL1.
This is
senior
their
would be
final
HL2.
English language arts experience at the high school.
Yes.
It makes me wish I was young again and could take the classes at the high school. But it also is good to know that the IB folks are not resting on their laurels, but updating their requirements to meet the 21st century. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. White. Mr. Rogie?
Good evening. Are these classes going to be available for next semester?
We're hoping that it will fit into T2 and T3 so that we have additional time to prepare since IB's instituted some changes. So, but yeah, they'll be available for next year.
And are IB classes generally always accepted by UC A to G?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they are.
The higher level?
Yeah, we have to take their courses straight from them. They go right through the portal and we can select from there and make the revision.
Great. Thank you. Good luck on it.
Thank you, Mr. Rogie. With no other questions, this is an action item, so I entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the 9-12 updated courses for the International Baccalaureate Language and Literature Higher Level 1 and 2.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. White. It's been seconded by Mr. Wenzel. Any discussion on that motion? Mr. Kirk, if you'd call the roll.
Yes, myself. Aye. Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. That motion carries 4-0 with the absence of Mrs. Prusso.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Thank you, both of you guys. All right, so next I've invited John Caribou here, who's our Granada High School IB coordinator, to be here tonight should you have any questions about the IB Spanish courses that I'm bringing forward. Maria Elena Ventura regrets that she couldn't make it tonight. She's also one of the ones that was instrumental in revising this course. So all three of the IB Spanish course descriptions, SL, the standard level, HL1 and HL2 have been revised again because the IB organization has made revisions to its curriculum and changes the assessment at the end of the course. For this particular one, the changes actually occurred to the individual oral internal assessment and also the addition of a new listening comprehension component for paper 2. These changes also happen to the IB Language B Spanish guidebook that goes along with the course that's there. If you recall, the standard level or SL course is a 1-year or 10-unit course that students would be able to take or are able to take to meet the IB diploma program, and students would take this course after having completed Spanish 3. So they would have gone through their sophomore year, completed Spanish 3, or even their junior year, finished Spanish 3, and be able to take the SL, the 1-year course, on the IB diploma program after that Spanish 3 course. For HL1 and 2 courses, the higher level courses, these are each the 10-unit courses, and they're designed, again, to be taken over the 2-year period. So you take HL1 and 2 in a 2-year span. And they'd also be taken after a student had finished Spanish 3. As a result of the course, the students would have a firm command of linguistic and structural patterns, and all 3 of the courses are designed to develop a student's critical reading and analytical writing skills in Spanish. If you're wondering what the difference would be with taking SL or the difference between taking the HL1 and 2, with the IB diploma program, it's kind of a wheel function, if you would, the Trivial Pursuit pieces. That'll date myself. And you would fill in the various pieces with courses that would make up enough to qualify for the IB diploma. And in some of the cases, you would take an SL in something that you're kind of mildly interested in, but you might go HL 1 and 2 if you're really interested in it, because it's a very in-depth course. And so those are how they kind of play out, and they're on all the wheel in all the content areas: math, English, science, history, world languages. And so that's kind of how those would work, and that is what we have for that course. So with that, I would, the superintendent's recommendation is to approve the IB Spanish course description changes for SL1, or SL, HL1, and HL2.
Thank you very much. We have a couple comments or questions. We'll start with Mr. Roki.
Yes, is my understanding these classes are currently offered?
Oh, actually, all the courses I presented tonight they're just revisions too.
So if you've already taken a class, are you held to the revision, or is that just a grandfathered in based on?
The way it works is, IB revises their courses every 7 years, and they give us enough notice ahead of time. For example, the English courses that start next year, those assessments will not take place until the following year, for the first time in 2020. So the students who are in 11th grade this year are starting this new course of Spanish. The students who are in 12th grade this year are still under the old course description. And so that's the way it works when IB. And sometimes they make major changes every 7 years. Sometimes they're just minor tweaks to the courses.
Okay, thank you for the information.
Thank you, Mr. Rogi. Mr. Wenzel.
A question. I think last meeting was Spanish 4. If you completed that, you'd be able to take the bilingual certification.
Oh, the seal by literacy?
No, I thought there was we were talking about level Spanish taking that you could take Spanish 4, and then you would be able to take a test to be certified as bilingual. Bilingual English-Spanish? No?
Yeah.
Yes, that is true, and it is a seal by literacy.
So
yeah.
This wouldn't qualify for that. You would have to take that course. You wouldn't be able to take the certification if you completed this course.
No, this course would actually qualify if you're a seal by literacy, because you'll have passed Spanish 3, and that's enough.
And take that
yes.
certification. Okay.
Correct.
That's it. Thank you.
You would be able to apply for that certification.
Thank you, Mr. Wenzel. Any other discussion? I would entertain a motion.
I move approval of the 912 updated course descriptions, International Baccalaureate Spanish Standard Level and Higher Level 1 and 2.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. White to support superintendent's recommendation. That motion's been seconded by Mr. Rogi. Any discussion on that motion? Ms. Clerk, if you'd call the roll.
Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Mrs. White?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. That motion carries 4-0. The absence of Ms. Prusso. Thank you very much. Need to introduce our next, please.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. President. So next I see Mrs. Kim McNeely coming forward once again, and she will be presenting the next 2 items. The same background will apply to both, but we would ask for separate votes and consideration for Scope A and Scope B, which would be 10.3 and 10.4, our path of travel in compliance with the Americans with Disability Act.
Minor technical adjustment. President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers and Cabinet. Light is on. I don't know. Maybe not close enough. Okay, we'll try it again. President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers and Cabinet. As Dr. Bowers shared, I'm presenting both items 10.3 and 10.4 this evening, the district-wide Playgrounds Americans with Disabilities Act Path of Travel project, both scopes A and B, recommended award of contract. For a little bit of background, the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA Path of Travel project, is actually the final component of the district-wide playgrounds improvement project. Each campus has specific improvements related to Vision of State Architect ADA requirements, and all the improvements are related to code compliant access to and from our parking lots, restrooms, and drinking fountains from those playgrounds. Scope A includes site signage, parking lot striping, tactile warning, and sidewalk accessibility improvements. Scope B includes restroom reconfigurations and drinking fountain access related to our playgrounds. You'll recall that the previous work included playground apparatus, rubberized surface, and box preparation. So we began the bidding process in early March with advertisement for bid for 2 consecutive weeks and a bid opening at March 27th. We received no bids on March 27th. As the board is probably well aware, Public Contract Code permits negotiated contracts when no bids are received, and staff moved immediately to look at, to review our contractors within the district's pre-approved pool of contractors in order to preserve schedule on this project and implement the work over the summer as is planned. The proposals were thoroughly reviewed. We solicited proposals. Those were thoroughly reviewed and compared to cost estimates to confirm that they were of good value to the district and in conformance with the budgets we have for these projects. The superintendent's recommendation is that the Board of Trustees award the contract for the district-wide playground improvements, Americans with Disabilities Act Path of Travel Project Scope A, and at the conclusion of this item, pending any questions that the board has, I will move to a second recommendation so that you can vote separately on the Scope B approval.
Thank you very much. Mrs. White?
And to whom is it that we are awarding this contract?
Scope A is Silicon Valley Paving.
Thank you.
I entertain a motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
Can you,
Mr. Rogie?
Tell me the monetary amounts involved in both contracts? What the bids are?
Scope A is $373,038, or $373,038, not 38.
I apologize, I didn't bring the item up with me.
That's okay. And that's for both?
No, that's
Scope A.
Scope A.
Just watch the question on B1.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, I'd entertain a motion relevant to the superintendent.
President, I move that we award the contract for the district-wide playground improvements of Americans with Disabilities Act of Travel Project, Scope A, to Silicon Valley Paving Incorporated for $373,038. $370,038.
Do we have a second?
Second.
A second. And just a clarification that the amount within the motion was $373,038.
Thank you.
That's correct.
We have a motion by Mrs. White. It's been seconded by Mr. Wenzel. Is there any discussion on the motion? Mr. Clerk, if you'd call the roll.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
Myself, aye. President Bueno?
Aye. And that motion carries 4-0 with the absence of Mrs. Brusso. Thank you very much, and you can move right to the second.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm getting a lot of assistance, which I'm needing, so that's good. So the superintendent's recommendation for item 10.4 is that our Board of Trustees award the contract for the district-wide playgrounds improvements, Americans with Disabilities Act Path of Travel Project Scope B. The recommended award is to JD General, and the dollar amount is $525,061.
Thank you very much. Any
What
discussion?
was that number?
Could we
Five.
repeat the number?
Absolutely, $525,061.
Thank you.
Is JD General still a local contractor?
They are a Livermore contractor.
Your motion?
I would entertain a motion.
I move that we award the contract for the district-wide playground improvements Americans with Disabilities Active Travel Project, Scope B, to JD General Construction Incorporated for $525,061.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. White supported the superintendent's recommendation, amended to include the contractor and the dollar amount. That motion's been seconded by Mr. Wenzel. Is there any discussion on the motion? Mr. Clerk, if you'd call the roll.
Yes, myself, aye. Mrs. White?
Aye.
Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. That motion carries 4-0. The absence of Mrs. Pruso.
And for our next 4 items, we're bringing up Mr. Scott Vernoy, our Director of Student Services, and he will be reviewing with you for second and possibly final readings some of our policies that have been updated or are new.
Good evening, President Bueno, Superintendent Bowers, members of the board. Tonight it's my pleasure to bring you 4 policies. The first one being Board Policy Administrative Regulation 3230. Mr. Rogi, I hope you noticed that we did add the policy numbers to the agenda for you.
And I appreciate that.
Our first posting was April 16th, first reading May 7th, second posting May 10th, and second and hopefully final reading May 21st. All 4 policies will follow the same timeline. Our federal grant funds, it's a new board policy. All grants awarded by federal government are subject to the requirements contained in the Office of Management and Budget. Our district is mandated to adopt written procedures related to procurement, conflict of interest, cash management, payments, and allowable costs. The district is responsible for maintaining fiscal integrity and transparency. Any goods or service purchased with federal funds shall be reasonable in cost and necessary for performance or administration of the program. The superintendent or designee shall develop, implement appropriate internal controls and processes, and the district shall submit performance reports required by law and awarding agencies. This is the second and final reading of Board Policy Administrative Regulation 3230, Federal Grant Funds. And the superintendent's recommendation is to approve. I'd be glad to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Benoit. Appears Zoe, Mr. Rogi.
Yeah, I just want to speed things up. Is there fundamentally any changes from the last reading? I didn't catch any.
There are none.
Would that be true of the next 3?
We made one small change to the last one. We removed a word and aligned it to the construction code or the.
Okay. On that point, if the board doesn't have any objections, I'd like to combine 10.5, 10.6, and 10.7 as one vote since there are no changes.
No objection from me.
And I move that we okay, without anybody else's objections, the administrative regulations for 10.5, 10.6, and 10.7.
Do we have a second? We have a motion by Mr. Rogi to accept the superintendent's recommendation. Are you foregoing? Just the question. Are you? Some of these are first read?
No.
No, they're all second.
All second and final? Okay. We have a recommendation by Mr. Rogi to accept the superintendent's recommendation, a second and final reading on all the items presented. That motion has been seconded by Mr. Wenzel. Is there any discussion on that motion?
You'd only do the 3.
Only did the 3.
That is 3230, 3311.2, and 3311.3.
The exception is 3311.4.
3311.4 for separate, yes.
Okay. Are we clear enough for the record? Okay, let's go. I'll go through it. The motion is to accept as second and final reading the superintendent's recommendation on 3230, 3311.2, 3311.3.
Right.
That motion's by Rogi, seconded by Mr. Wenzel. Okay, Mr. Clerk, could you call the roll?
I was trying to save time, but I don't think we did. Yes, myself, aye. Mrs. White?
Aye.
Mr. Wenzel? President Bueno?
Aye. That motion carries 4-0 with the absence of Mrs. Pruso. Now, Mr. Brunoff, we'll proceed to the item on 3311.4.
Thank you very much. So 3311.4, procurement of technology and equipment, second and final reading. This is the same timeline that was followed by the other three. So this is a new administrative regulation. Policy provides an alternative to competitive bidding procedures. Public Contract Code 20118.2 authorize the issuance of a request for proposal for district procurement of electronic equipment and apparatus, with a contract being awarded to the proposal that is most beneficial to the district, considering price and overall other factors, or best value. So we may use it, competitive negotiations, when it makes a finding that the district procurement is for computer, software, telecommunications equipment, microwave equipment, and or other related electronic equipment and apparatus. And competitive negotiations shall not be used to contract for any product that is available in substantial quantities to the general public. The one change that was made was to the first paragraph, and it now states, this section does not apply to the procurement of any product that is available in substantial quantities to the general public, which aligns with Public Contract Code 20118.2. Superintendent's recommendation is to approve second and final reading for Administrative Regulations 3311.4. Be glad to take any questions.
Mr. Rogie?
I don't have any problem with the wording on that, but the record in our agenda and online still has the original wording on it.
Yeah, the changes were made after, and so we will implement the changes as of tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's no other questions. I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve 10.8 Administrative Regulation 3311.4, procurement of technological equipment.
We have a motion by Mr. Wenzel to support superintendent's recommendation. That motion has been seconded by Mr. Rogie. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Mr. Clerk, if you'd call the roll.
Yes, Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Mrs. White?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. The motion carries 4-0, the absence of Mrs. Pruso. Thank you, Mr. Benoit.
Thank you very much.
Introduce our next item, please. Oh, that's procurement.
So we're moving to the
Yeah.
consent items.
Mr. President, I just have one comment
Yes.
not to remove. I do want, on 1011.5, gifts to the district. Again, the board and the district do appreciate everybody who does donate and give gifts to the district. It's much appreciated. We never want to minimize that, so thank you again from the board.
It was clarification, discussion, it wasn't removal. It's
Right,
still going to go.
just a
Okay.
discussion. And so with that, I move that we approve consent items 11.2 through
16.
16.
Second.
We have a motion to move all consent items by Mr. Rogie. The motion's been seconded by Mr. Wenzel. We have any discussion on the motion? Ms. Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Yes, myself, aye. Mrs. White?
Aye.
Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. Motion carries 4-0 with the absence of Ms. Pruso. I believe there's also some consent items. Rezos on the agenda. Anyone want to remove anything? And I'd entertain a motion on this.
Mr. President, I move that we approve 12.2 through 12.5 consent items resolutions.
I'll second.
And the clarification on the motion, Mr. Wenzel's made the motion, and it's to consent reso numbers 092, that's 1819, through 095, 1819. And that's been seconded by Mr. Rogie. Any discussion? Mr. Rogie, if you call the roll, please.
Yes, Mrs. White?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
President Moreno?
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Absence of Mrs. Pruso. We're going to move into Section 14 is board member reports. And we'll begin with Mrs. White.
Okay. This morning, I was privileged to attend the IB 8th grade reports on their community projects. I can't imagine myself behaving and relating and reporting as adequately as the students I saw. But it turns out that some of their projects included supplies. So they took the tax ID number to the Independent, to Lowe's, to Safeway, and to Lucky's, and they were generously allowed to have the supplies they needed for their projects. One of the projects was a birthday party bag, and it was filled with the supplies that some young person at Shepherd's Gate might need, his mom might need to put on a real birthday for him, which he may or may not have had before. A cake mix and balloons and plates and all those paraphernalia things that you would get at the paper goods store. I also went to the Livermore Granada Boosters Awards night last night, and it was spirited, great, and I can't remember the names, but I did remember the students from their speeches. It was a good time. I also attended the Livermore High musical performance of State Fair, and indeed, it was a grand night for singing if you have been there. I was delighted to be able to accept the temple from an invitation from the Mormon temple to attend to visit their temple before it's dedicated in a couple of months. And also there was the CSEA and Livermore Management Association dinner and breakfast at which there were many, many scholarships awarded. This is just the culmination of why we're all about with the students being so successful. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Mr. Wenzel.
Thank you. I went to the Christian School Service Recognition Awards. Very well done. And I took a poll at the time of the new awards, and 100%, everybody loved the new awards, service awards that were put out. So Emily's not here. I wanted to give her a little razz, but that's okay. So I'll wait till next time. I too also took the tour of the Mormon Temple in Oakland Hills. Very impressive. Thank you for the opportunity. This past week, I went to Washington, D.C. It was a two-purpose trip. Number one, it was Police Week, Memorial Week, recognition, and then also I took the time to work with Congressman Swalwell in Pleasanton, and then I went to his office in Washington, D.C. and met with his chief of staff and his legislative assistant to talk about the IDEA program. It's something that has to be kept brought up in conversation and keep working it. I think politically it's the right time to talk about it. It's the hundreds of millions of dollars that our district has paid into it over the years. This is just a little ridiculous. So it's very important that we stay on top of it. I also went and delivered a letter to the Department of Education, to Betsy DeVos's office. Basically, the letters were from the SELPAs, or Tri-Valley SELPA, and then also San Ramon SELPA, and just bringing in the factual basis, how much money is being spent by these districts is crazy high. And we're down to about 7% from a promise to 40. It has to be kept talked about. I got through security. I was supposed to meet with Susan Murray, and she did not show up, so I made some extra phone calls. I came all the way out there, wanted to meet with her, but I also got the person to hand deliver to Betsy DeVos. At the end, it'll probably be read by her and then sent down to Susan, so I might as well, get to Susan. She's the fiscal accountability facilitator for the state of California, and they're well aware of it. The federal government has already made or have presented some increases, but it's still not enough. So at this point, I asked both the department head and then also our congressman, what can we do in a partnership to get this out? What do you want us to do as a state, as a district, how to make this recognizable? So they gave me some ideas. At this point, we need to funnel it through a congressman. I'm working with Congressman Swalwell, the superintendent. We're trying to come up with a program. Ann has talked with the CSBA. I think it's the right time that we keep pushing this. And even if we get 1%, it's better than nothing. And so we're working on that project. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Wenzel. Mr. Rogie.
First, I want to apologize. I was supposed to attend quite a few things from last week, but I came down with a cold, and I decided instead of spreading it and being miserable for 6 days, that I would just knock it down to 3. I did attend with Mrs. Prusso the Future Farmers of America dinner and awards assembly that is also known as FFA over at Livermore. Appreciated the invitation. As usual, the food's great. Very much attended by both parents and students. I like the formality, the politeness, the civility of everything that goes on in that meeting, and I also like the food. But it went off very well, and we both appreciated it. I also attended the NCS track meet in Dublin. And of course, in the last 3 weekends, it's been miserably cold, foggy, cruddy weather in Dublin. They need to improve that weather over there. But I do want to congratulate Claire March of Granada High School. She's going on to state. She placed first in discus and second in shot, and she's going on to state. I also attended the state fair presentation on 2 different nights. It was one of the largest casts they've had. There was 122 students involved. At any one time, 70 are on stage. The 122 included the pit orchestras and the stage crew. It's a great state fair. I mean, what can I tell you? It's our state fair, yes. It was very good. Also today, I attended Jackson Avenue's awards, service awards. They had, I only had 3 awards, but they total 65 years of service. They much appreciated. We actually had a toast of a fizzy substance, and I'm sure it wasn't anything alcoholic because, well, never mind. And then also last night I attended the booster dinner. I'm very impressed with the students that were up, the Olympiads that were on the stage. When I hear GPAs of 4.45 and 4.50, and I'm very impressed with that, and along with the academics that they do, and some of them have 8 years of Block L in 4 years, or they're getting their blocks and athletics. It's very impressive. They all deserved to win, but only 2 did, but congratulations to them. The dinner was good, and I thank the Livermore and Granada boosters for putting that on. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogie. Tomorrow, just to remind folks that might be listening towards the end of the meeting, tomorrow there's going to be a rally up in Sacramento, May 22nd, and this has been put together by Gabe Weiss, who's with CSBA. This is a collaborative effort, and it's, I don't want to say it's unprecedented, but it's certainly unprecedented in our times, where you have CTA and superintendents and trustees and the California School Board Association making a political presence known. A lot of people just don't know. We have a super majority of people who support education in the Capitol. A lot of them just don't know that there's issues with funding. And so when you bring it to their attention, they're a little shocked, and then when you inform them, they give some promises to act on it. And so we're hoping that the governor follows through with this new information. Even though it's not completely new, but it's new to him, and he's our new governor, and we're hoping it's successful, that our kids are fully funded in education, and that with the 5th largest economy in the world as a state, we should not be 41st in funding, we should be first. And so that's going to be the effort, and it's collaborative, and it's from all facets of education. So thank you to all those people who are participating in that, and particularly to Gabe Weiss, who's putting this together for Alameda and Contra Costa County. I too went to the Olympian Award. It's probably my favorite event. It's something that this community's been doing for a long time, and it's a wonderful effort that the Granada Livermore Boosters puts together to advertise, promote excellence in athletics, and these kids are all also excellent students academically, and just phenomenal winners last night, and just want to keep on that wonderful tradition. I also had the privilege of going out and doing, as we all did as board members, to go out and award some seniority awards to teachers, school psychologists, staff, all different people. And so I got to go to a few of the sites, and it's just kind of wonderful. I mean, when you're in the room and there's multiple people with 15 and 20 years, 25, 30 years, and the thing that was changed this year, and Mr. Wenzel had a little hand in that, we handed out some awards. The awards are still a token, and they're representative of the district's appreciation. But this year, the students had a hand in it. So I believe that our art teacher, and it was ceramics, for lack of a better term, was a ceramics teacher over at Granada, and Dr. Bowers will probably have better information on the exact person it was at Granada. And then we also had a teacher over at Del Val who does art, and some of the wonderful art that we get, and the kids did some just beautiful, it was digital photography, I'm sorry, at Granada, and it was ceramics at Del Val. And they did some really nice stuff, and the teachers were everyone that received it, all the people were very, very appreciative of the gifts they got. Went to the CSEA, I was a guest of CSEA, went to their scholarship dinner, which is always really well attended. And I was kind of distant when my kids kind of went to these schools, and it's kind of fun, and it's pretty rewarding to just watch how people get in. It was some kind of a theme or something, and I'm not a guy who dresses up like a sailor or anything, but everyone really gets into it, and you can really see the school spirit and all the identities of each school in each pocket, and it's pretty cool to watch. Went to the Governor's May Revise yesterday. I don't know how many times we can say it, but I think this collaborative effort's going to hopefully address it, but it's going to be continuous. This is the worst funding I did my entire life in public government. Public education in the state of California is the worst financial configuration I've ever seen. And I'm hoping that this governor, he came from local government, that he puts a concerted effort to get these kids what they need, because this economy is thriving in this state. And we put out, we're in the middle of it. We are right at Silicon Valley's doorstep, and we need to get full funding for these kids. You have all these dedicated people, a community that supports it. We need the state to support it, and that takes elected representatives at the state level to put their thoughts where the money is, and the state has the money, put it behind these children. Also was able to go up to the Mormon temple. That was a kind of an honor, and they invited a lot of people. It wasn't exclusive, to me or anyone else. They tried to get some people that were involved in the communities to go up. They're going to do a rededication, so we were able to go up there and tour. Just a great group of people. They took us through, and they explained the whole thing of how the local things work and how it works up at the temple, and how that was like the 29th temple. When they rededicate, it's going to be like the 139th. Very cool. I grew up here in Alameda County. I saw that big temple up on the hill when I was a kid, and I always wondered what the heck's going on up there. Now I know. It's really a beautiful place. Also got a chance to do a professional visitation over at NorCal Carpenters. Hosted a real quick fly-in and a real quick fly-out to their national training facility. And they have 1.3 million cubic feet or square feet under roof. It's a wonderful training facility, and this is part of looking at pathways for our kids to go into the professional trades, and those guys really, really do it right. I've been a general contractor for 30 years, and it was just, it opened my eyes, and there's people there from all over the country looking at what they're doing in terms of training and the opportunities that it's presenting. Really, really solid effort. Just kind of in closing, just a personal, just because this is what our public schools do. Happen to have a nephew that went through our public schools right here, and he just graduated from Santa Clara Law, so I went to his graduation. And just another success story from Livermore Public Schools. And then one of my son's best friends graduated from law school, just passed the bar. So Livermore Schools is doing it right. We got a lot of kids going to a lot of things, and I just want to thank the community that supports us, and the teachers and the staff and the administration for putting these kids in a position to win. And I really, really appreciate that. That concludes my update.
So I'll recap a couple of events and then talk about what's coming up. So the A's game did happen on May 11th. That was since we last met, and our Livermore High Show Choir performed, and the A's won against the Cleveland Indians. But we have 3 additional games, so if you missed that one, then please join us on June 14th. It's a Friday night Flag Day, also fireworks evening game against the Seattle Mariners. The first pitch is at 6:37 p.m., but as I learned, and I sometimes am not quite time formal, you need to be there about 15 minutes early because the first pitch is not when the anthem starts. They start earlier than that. So make sure if you come out that you get through the parking and the heavy security so that you can get there and actually enjoy the students performing. And it will be Element 116 that evening, so it should be fun. We did attend, many of us, the California School Employee Association Scholarship Dinner, and that was a potluck, and it supports our students with scholarships. Classified employees hosted tables for their guests who were the managers. Junction K8, who you saw earlier, was in charge. It was the best food ever, and also the student entertainment was outstanding. Costume and table decoration theme was musical animated films. It was festive. It was for a great cause, and next year Granada High School will do the honors of hosting. On Thursday, May 16th, as many of you mentioned, the LMA Awards Breakfast took place. We recognize remarkable employees at all levels, as well as those who support our mission. So I want to give a shout out to our friend of education, the Valley Humane Society, retired friend of education, Sally Dunlop, partner in education, the Alameda County Office of Education, classified employee, you saw her earlier, Mary Cruz Fernandez, classified employee, she's the confidential employee is Jen Arias, certificated employee, Megan Clappin, teacher from Jackson, or Seco, Jackson. Administrative of the Year, Tara Aderman. The President's Award went to Romy Silvera from Campus Catering. And we have our newest award, which I'm very excited about, is the Homegrown Employee of the Year award. Someone who went through elementary, middle, and high school here, and then now has come back to work for us. And that was Val Nebo. And they were honored along with student scholarship recipients. We also want to thank Supervisor Scott Haggerty for his support, his financial support, to keep scholarships going for our students. And then I also had the pleasure of attending the Make a Difference Awards. This was held this year in Pleasanton Middle School, and that was for special needs students or students with special needs and their families. They personally celebrated and honored their teachers and the support staff. And they were competing with a Warriors game that night, but still many, many people came, and it was really special. Some of the things that are coming up, we have tomorrow evening is our retirement reception. That's our annual opportunity to recognize beloved retirees for their unselfish service to students and many years of working in our district. Thursday's open house for all of our elementary schools, and as you heard earlier from community member Steve Goodman, the 60th birthday celebration for Maryland Avenue School. So you might be able to come to that first before you go out to the other ones. Next week we'll have middle school open house, and these are all wonderful opportunities for our students and their parents and teachers to celebrate all of the student learning and see what was accomplished over the year. So other events, and I'm sure we will be at them, middle college graduation, Livermorium Day, middle school promotions, end of year musical performances, high school graduations, and safe and sober grad night. It is hard to believe. Time goes by so fast when we're busy and having fun, but the next time we convene formally for a board meeting, the unforgettable class of 2019 will have graduated. So we congratulate our 13,900 students TK-12 on this important promoting to the next grade level or their graduation milestone and accomplishment. We wish them the best in the years to come as they pursue their educational and career goals. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. With no further business, we'll adjourn at 21:24.